Martin.
One comment on the first part. I really think it's very, very dangerous, though very attractive, to use metaphors for the relations between dominant states which come from your relationship with your neighbors. There are, to be pedantic, general equilibrium properties in this system which don't apply between you and your neighbor. So don't get confused by metaphors. However, the question has addressed the biggest, what was in fact the heart of this. Can we have an international monetary system that is not based on national currencies? This is the world system we've had effectively for very nearly 100 years, since the First World War, has been based on national currencies. There are a few nitwits who thinks actually gold still counted. It counted in the 20s. Unfortunately, it hasn't counted for anything since then. We live in a world of national currencies. And it's what the markets have chosen, and it's what governments have chosen. The reason the dollar is acceptable is it's because people have accepted it. Could we change this? There are two ways you could imagine changing this. One, of course, we could have an international money like the euro. And all you need to do that is abandon completely and totally national monetary sovereignty. I think we can assume that is not going to happen at the world level in the near future. So that means the money most people will use will continue to be national monies, and they're not going to be fixed rates because people want national monetary autonomy. A second possibility is to create an international monetary reserve asset to be used for governments. This is the SDR. That can be used as a complement to, and there are technical problems and some advantages to it. I'm in favor of this extension of the SDR, but it will never replace national currencies as the dominant currencies people hold, nor are the countries that issue those dominant national countries ever going to guarantee the value of those currencies against the SDR. So we can create a partial solution through this sort of arrangement. But basically, we're in the world of sovereign fiat currencies. We've been there for 100 years, and we simply don't have the political will to replace them at the moment, and we're not going to go back to the gold standard despite the immense supply of gold nuts around the world, particularly frequently in the US.
Anybody else want to come in on this? Keir?
Well, I think blaming game is not healthy. It doesn't serve anyone any good. Everybody lose. The better question is what to do now. I think what we plan to do is the reform of IMF. We have to pay attention to it. It's shocking to realize that the surveillance and monitoring system of IMF do not apply to the developed country. Why is that? How can that happen? Why everyone let that happen? I'm surprised. So what's more important is now, it's on the card, it's on the agenda. Let's go back on the drawing board. Let's look at how to reform IMF. That would help prevent another crisis.
Stephen?
We do have surveillance.
I'm in favor of architectural reform like anyone else. But don't kid yourself. This crisis is not about currency problems. This crisis is about a failure of national policies to focus in a disciplined way on the policy mandates that they were asked to execute by their national governments. We've had the worst performance of central banking in the last 10 years that I have seen in my lifetime. Currency regimes are only good if the adjustments they require are enforced by independent, steely-eyed, objective, mean, politically independent central banks. We've had central banks that have just gone along for the ride, driven by ideology, driven by politics, and we can change the currency regime right now, and if they still play the game the same way, the next currency regime is going to fail just like this one. So this is a false issue. I'm glad to be here with my friends and debate it, but don't think we're going to fix the world by going from dollars to SDRs if we don't have good, tough policies around the world.
You.
I think one of the most serious problems with the current international monetary system is it's failed to enforce adjustment. You run current surplus, you run current deficit. Nobody can do anything about it. I think it is a fundamental problem. This,
Yeah, you could convert.
This is
you
not
could
only,
make your currencies convertible, which would be
no,
one step.
this is not. This is
Well,
not
yes,
the
it
key.
would,
So what I'm
because
trying
the
to say
currency
is that
mechanism would do the work for you, wouldn't it?
I think this is related with the institutional arrangement. This has something to do with the current international monetary policy system. For example, if we are under gold standard, then there will be some automatic adjustment mechanism. You can't continue to run current account deficit or surplus. In this current international monetary system, there isn't any this kind of adjustment mechanism. So what can we do? Of course, we can't go back to golden standard. But somehow we can do something. I agree with Martin. I think we should make a distinction between international currency, the only international currency, and the reserve currency. So we can treat SDR as a reserve currency to supplement the problems, to solve the problem for the time being. Eventually, we may have more than 2 currencies as a core international reserve currency or some other arrangement. But now we are facing the problem of